Hello and welcome to this quick video about OpenSpec custom schemas. In my previous video about OpenSpec 1.0 release, I had mentioned that the config.yaml allows us to switch the default schema itself. The default schema which comes with OpenSpec is spec-driven, and most of you are familiar with the 4 artifacts it generates: proposal, specs, design, and task. But what if I do not need all of these 4? So for example, let's say I'm building a simple landing page website, and that website doesn't really have a technology stack that's constantly evolving. So I can keep that information here in the config.yaml under the context section. And the schema itself, I've switched it out to something called Minimalist that I've built. Minimalist schema directly generates the specs in user story and acceptance criteria, which is in Gherkin format. And then thereafter directly jumps to tasks. So this is fairly sufficient for me to build a simple website or a landing page. But what if I have a more involved use case? Let's say like an event-driven architecture. Here I experimented with using the event storming exercise to initially model the system, then eventually capture the specifications and the design, the technical decisions, and then generate an asyncapi specification based on these details, and eventually the task. Let's take a look at how that might come across. So here is where I have the event storming, the initial document itself. So this document has enough information for me to figure out what's going on. So for example, it has mermaid diagrams for what are the various interactions that are happening. And for those of you who are familiar with event storming, you'd also know the color code that I'm using here. Obviously, it generates a bunch of artifacts after that. There is event modeling itself, which includes further information about the actual diagrams for workflow itself, the ticket submission, what's going on. I'm building a ticket management system here, right? Now this is helpful in figuring out the various complicated interactions, and eventually that ends up generating an asyncapi specification, which when I preview it looks something like this with all the details, which I can again use for my review and make sure that the system is indeed looking like what I want, right? And then thereafter I can generate the tasks and move on from there. Now how am I doing all of this? Like how am I switching the schema, and how does that look? So in OpenSpec, obviously if you want to have your own custom schema within the project folder where you have OpenSpec itself, all you need to do is create a folder called schemas, and within that keep your schema definition itself. Now for all of these schemas which I've been showing you, I have a Git repository which you can refer to. You can download and try these schemas for yourself and share any updates or changes or suggestions that you have for them. Or even if you would like to add your own schema here, I would be happy to accept pull requests. So that's quickly about how you can customize OpenSpec to your style of working, and update it according to the workflow that suits you best. So that's all I have for this video, and this is Hari Krishnan. I'll catch you on the next one.